Welcome back to Some Parts Not Included. My name is Amanda Marie, and I am a right leg amputee, and these are my co-hosts.
Jamie, and I'm a right arm amputee.
And I'm James, the left arm amputee, below the elbow.
We just are a bunch of amputees that like to hang out and talk about amputee type stuff. Today, we want to talk about going to our prosthetic appointments and what that is like. I've been dealing with this quite a bit lately, but honestly, I'm really curious because I've never really thought about it from like the arm amputee perspective and like what's involved. So I'm interested to hear what you have to talk about.
I think that it all really depends on what part of the process in getting a new limb you're at. Because I think like when, as an arm amputee, when you're getting it casted, it takes a little bit longer. Whereas when you're getting it fitted, again, maybe might take a little bit longer. Or if you're just getting slight adjustments or even repairs, that's usually a much shorter trip. But yeah, so I think that it all really depends. But I really like going to the prosthetist because I really like my prosthetist a lot. I know that sounds weird, but like, like sometimes like there are just really good doctors, and like, or
That's half
specialists.
the battle. Is finding
exactly.
that good relationship, right?
Exactly. And so
Absolutely.
I really like my prosthetist, and I find that when I speak, they listen and have like really great ideas for things that I want or that I need, or if I'm experiencing any issues, they have really, really great insight as well. So as an arm amputee, like I think the things that we have to think about are like not wearing heavy sweaters or long sleeves when we're going to the prosthetist, or making sure that that like we don't have any cuts on our limb and things like that. Whereas, as you know, because sometimes arm amputees can go without a limb longer, so we're more likely to really like, I would say, kind of like injure ourselves in a way where we shouldn't. So we may have like, cuts or abrasions or whatever.
Have you ever been like, because I know part of the question when we came up with this was like, have you ever been felt weird or uncomfortable or intrusive, or you know what I mean? Because it's like, that's why I was saying it's like so important to have that good relationship, right, with your prosthetist, because it's sort of an intimate thing. Like they're literally creating a part of your body. They're putting their hands on you, and when they cast you, like that's where you were saying each appointment is different, right? Well, for us and arm amputees, it's just like having their hands on our arm and stuff. And some people don't like, some amputees, they don't like people touching their residual limb, and I get that. So that's part of it. But in Amanda's point of view, like you're also like in an area where you're really close to, you're, I don't even want to say like what genitals, like, right? So it's like
James turned into a 6-year-old.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what's the terminology?
There's
Well, that's what I mean. It's an intimate thing. So having that relationship is also really important, right? Because
it was
it's
really
like
funny because the first time I even thought about this, James, you were doing like an apprenticeship or something as a prosthetist in an office for a little bit. Was that, I'm not making that up, right?
Yeah, I worked
long
in high school. I co-opted a prosthetic shop. In fact, I actually made my own arm that year. Like I created my own arm that year, and it was awesome, and it was a lot of fun.
First of all, I'm kind of a little bit jealous. Like that's super cool, but
I learned the process and everything.
I didn't think about it because in my mind, I've never not had like for those that aren't watching and don't know, I have kind of like a short stump, and so I don't have a lot of room to work with when it comes to suspension devices and keeping the leg on. I currently go with like a suction kind of device. And so it has to come like right up and be able to support me. So what we're basically talking about is as they're doing these fittings, like their hands are on like my vagina. That's really what's happening. But there's a level to it where it's like professional, and I like honestly have never been uncomfortable, and I've had two male prosthetists, and now I've actually finally been blessed with a female prosthetist. um if you hear someone crying, it's just my dog in the background. I have a husky shepherd, so she whines. But yeah, so it's a very intimate, like they're up in my butt, like my crotch is in their face while we're doing like the casting and they're doing adjustments. And like they literally are like, you have to spread wider sometimes so they don't
Oh
like,
yeah,
when they're
probably.
like getting into like, it's, you're not wrong, it's a very intimate, like I personally like to make sure like I shower before I go. And like another thing too, because
They
if
probably
we're doing,
appreciate that, you know?
oh, you know what? They probably do. This is a factual thing, I'm sure. But it's something like,
Whereas if me and Jamie went to the prosthetist, we wouldn't really have to shower that day. That's why there's such a huge difference. Like, well,
well,
like
like,
Jamie, you might, but I might not shower that day, and I don't think that they would smell anything. Like,
well, it's
you know
just
what I
one of
mean?
those
Like,
things. I'm very like, I don't know, that's like my personal thing is hygiene wherever, just in general. So if I'm going to physio, even that, like I'm very much like I need to shower before I go, just because I feel like this person's like has their hands on me. And I don't know,
mm-hmm.
that's I guess my own thing, but that might not represent for everybody. But when someone is like 2 inches away from your crotch,
You
like
want to shower?
it's just one of those
Very
like things
important.
you're very mindful of. So, and another thing to add to that, that's kind of probably a different experience for you that you don't do, is I carry with me at all times a spare pair of underwear and a sock, because if I have to go to one of these fittings, um and they randomly are like, okay, we're gonna cast you today, then sometimes I get casting all over my underwear, and where it drips down my leg and gets on my sock. And so yeah, it's always nice to have the option. I've learned the hard way. It was like sitting in, and the stuff that they do, for those that are watching, if you don't know, it's actually the same kind of thing as putting like a cast as if you broke your arm. So that plaster on your underwear is just so uncomfy. So anyways, I always bring a spare pair. And then honestly, it's one of those things, you might as well just have the spare pair on you, because you just never know in life, you know.
Wow,
But
that's
True.
super
this is
interesting.
just good
Even as an
advice.
amputee,
Yeah.
going to a process, who has been going to a process his whole life, I've never heard that perspective of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Just
someone like with a high up amputation, that's crazy. That's a total different experience. So no wonder you would want to find someone you're so comfortable with.
yeah, I feel very blessed, how I even encountered a female prosthetist, because I don't feel, maybe there's a lot more now, but definitely not when I was growing up. There wasn't, and I kind of fell into it because her dad was doing it, and so she like took over his business, and so I was just kind of handed her, and I really, really, and like you said, it's really important to have a good relationship with your prosthetist, and you enjoy going in. Like one thing for me, is being an amputee. My mom came with me to a lot of appointments and was like, just even as an adult, not because she had to, but it was like, oh, like if you're going, I would like to come along with. And, it became this experience of like, if you're going to go to these appointments, I can come along. We can do some shopping together. It was someone to talk to in the car. And so, like, I don't know, it was a big bonding experience. And now that my mom has passed, going to these places, so my mom knew like all of my doctors, right? So to go back and talk to them, they have been so loving and compassionate. Like they actually pause and take time to talk about grief. And like it's so beyond just getting fitted for a leg. But like, and to me, it's again one of those experiences that they very much take time. Every single person that works there takes time to talk about my mom and give me space to cry or just to grieve, and not rush it, and care and make sure I'm okay driving. And yeah, I don't know, it's deep. It's some deep
It,
stuff you don't realize with these people that are just making your limbs, but it's what it
it's
is.
true.
So
It's so true. I feel like I don't have this type of like relationship with any other medical uh, any other medical team professionals that I deal with, and as you guys know, I have some other health issues, so I do have a lot. I have a big medical team, like very big medical team. So it's very interesting that the only ones in which are really close to me, or that I feel so close to, or that I trust so much, is those prosthetists, which
Yeah.
is incredible for sure.
It is a really unique thing. It's a really unique relationship.
Absolutely.
And to also point out, like, I don't know how long it takes for you at these appointments. They are definitely my longest doctor appointment visits of all time. I don't know about you guys.
Mine
Longest, yeah.
are short but frequent.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So like when I'm getting a new limb made, or if I'm getting repairs, what often happens is that mine are like once a week, but like 4 or 5 times within like a 5 week span, basically, or a 6 week span. So it's often, and I see them often. but but yeah, they're not necessarily long, but are really great. I actually had a prosthetist once actually deliver my limb to my house for me, which was really amazing. Like that's like unheard of
Oh,
for a prosthetist to like, I'll just deliver it to your house. I'll just drive it there on my way home from work, which is pretty
that's so
cool.
sweet.
One of the I would say like one of the experiences that I remember when I was really young about going to a prosthetist was when they were doing the weight test on me. So they when you're younger and you're being fitted with a limb, sometimes they try and see how much weight you should hold or you can hold on
Right.
that limb. And that was, I think, probably the worst experience ever for me getting a limb, just because I'm not strong on that side at all. And I wasn't strong on that side. And I understand the reasoning for it, but it was so uncomfortable. It was
Yeah.
so uncomfortable just having like
Oh,
a giant weight just attached to your limb, like, oh, to your stump. It was mega uncomfortable.
There are definitely things about it that are like those little things, right? There's like weird little things that are like not so great, and other things. But my personal opinion is I love now going to the prosthetist, like, and getting my limbs made, and like I'm always so excited, like. But I think it was a different perspective as a kid growing up, going to prosthetists and having gone to so many different prosthetists in my life before I finally found one that was, you know, that worked really well with me. Like as a kid, I mean, like, again, going back to like the late 80s, like early 90s, things were a lot different than they are now, like technology wise. So, you remember those machines they used to hook you up to get the readings? And
Yes.
then there were doctors that were like not so nice, and like, oh, if you're not going to
oh
wear
yeah,
it, then you're not going
yeah,
to get it. And like, um, trying to explain that it was uncomfortable, and like trying to communicate as a kid was hard, and I found it kind of scary ish sometimes as a kid. But I was always really happy to go to my appointments because it meant I got to go on a trip with my mom or my dad, and we would go out for lunch, and my mom and dad would always make a day of it. Kind
yeah.
of like your mom, right? Would go with you, and it was really comforting. And now I'm seeing that all over again with my daughter, where I'm
Oh
taking
yeah.
her to prosthetic appointments. And I'm now seeing when she gets there, she's shy and she doesn't want to put her arm on. And you have to take some convincing to get her to put her arm. She's like 2.5, and she's being fitted for her first mile right now. In fact, tomorrow morning, 2 days from now, we're going to another appointment where I think they might have like a final socket ready, and so she'll
That's
be getting
fun.
her first myoelectric. And I'm just hoping that's a good day for her. Like she'll want to put it on and test it, but it's literally it. That's why you know when you're going as a kid, you have to make it the most positive experience as you can. Like if she's not feeling it, don't push it too much. But you have to kind of try and find ways to, um, like with any
Encourage
toddler,
it.
like reverse
Yeah.
psychology or like trickery. or like getting them to like, you know what I
And
mean?
I
Like
feel
just
you kind of have a little bit of an advantage because you have gone through it, so you know what that feels like, and then you also can show her like, "Oh, look, dad does it too."
oh yeah,
So
you think that would work
there's
at the past
layers
appointments.
to
It's
it.
been like, look, I thought you wanted to get like a myoelectric hand like daddy. I thought you wanted a
Yeah,
hand that opens and closes like daddy. At the appointment, like during when we're at home, it's like, yeah, yeah, I want to get this arm, yeah, yeah. But as soon as we get to the appointment, it's like shy town.
yeah,
Like there's a person, it's intimidating, right? And like
yeah.
so it's so you come up with ways. Um and honestly, last time it was just like chocolate. Like, hey, you want this chocolate? Put the arm on, kid.
I put
Look,
the arm on for
we're
chocolate.
traveling like however many kilometers all the time for us to just have a nice, there's been a few meetings now where it's been like, okay, she just played with toys and didn't want to wear her arm. Okay, well, that's a lot of traveling for just nothing. You know what I mean? Like, but again, you got to make it a positive experience. It has to be something they want to enjoy doing, or they're not going to want to go back, and they're not going to want to wear their limb. But again, we have great prosthetists where we are. They're great, man. And some of the best in Canada. So it's so important to have that. And of course, now they've made me my favorite arm of all time, which is right here. Favorite designed arm of all time was my Led Zeppelin arm. So like they have great prosthetists, and they make like really great pieces, and like yeah, always a positive experience going to the prosthetist for me. Except for when I was just a really little kid and I was going to Toronto, and some of those places were kind of scary, I thought.
It's neat to hear Ava's experience going through it. Something like
It's wild, man. Just
very,
like,
very unique, right? So
yeah.
yeah,
And I thought it would be me sometimes that'd be like, or, I thought it would be like, I would have to be the driving factor in getting her to wear her limb, like, oh, put it on like daddy or this and that. And like, but sometimes it's mom that steps in and is the one that convinces her to put it on. And I'm like, oh, okay, good job. Like, holy moly. But it's been like, honestly, it's like tough. You think it's like, oh, she's gonna see you want to do it, and of course she does. At home she watches how I use my limb, and she wants to do the same things. But it is a struggle trying to get toddlers to wear a prosthetic device, even though that they're going to benefit from it. But at the end of the day, like, I know a lot of amputees that choose to use their residual limb, and that's okay too. And sometimes that they can use it a lot better. And Jamie, you've been an inspiration there, because I knew you used your residual limb so well, and you didn't care what people thought, and like you would just go out. I've always put my arm on everywhere I go. I've like self-consciousness, like I've always had that, like I have to wear my arm when I go in public. But I look up to the people that are just like, dude, why don't you rock the nub and own it like a boss? That's what and so that's what's great too, man. People that can do that, right? And so when I
I mean,
think
I
about
think
my
that
daughter, I just want her to have both sides as a role model. Like, and she just uses the nub so damn well that it's like, yeah, I don't know. I could see her getting like where the Mayo is going to benefit her, but it's like trying to teach her that this is, going to help offset, like this is going to
well,
help in a lot of problems. And so we're using the nub, right?
I think that there's a bonus to both sides of that, right? Because for me, you're right. A lot of my life, I didn't use an artificial limb simply because I do truthfully need a surgery. I'm avoiding it, but I need one. And so that's why I wasn't doing it, because it was just too painful. But when I found a really great prosthetist that actually worked with me to make sure that I wasn't feeling that much pain when I was wearing my limb, it was a little bit better. So I didn't feel like I needed that surgery as much. I still do need it. That's no question. So I think even realizing and watching other amputees who do wear their limb regularly, and also experiencing those overuse injuries and those other, like the back pain and all that kind of stuff too, like I think there's a bonus to both, right? Like I really do feel the most comfortable not wearing an arm simply because of pain. But again, like I do choose now to leave the house with an arm on because it helps me to do very specific things like hold doors open, hold on to like something on the bus, like if I need to, things like that, right? But yeah, I think that there's like a bonus to both for sure, and I think that that's really great that you want both for Ava for sure.
Everyone's body is so different, right? Like when you mention that you need a surgery, it's like, well, I never needed that, but so many amputees we know do. So many amputees needed, like Amanda, I know you can go all day about the surgery. I've never had to deal with a surgery, and so
Yeah,
sometimes that's a
actually,
reality. Everyone's bodies are so much different, right? So what works for them might work for one. What works for one person might not work for another person. Wearing a limb versus not wearing a limb, and
I'm
you know,
experiencing right now. So like I'll say yeah, like I agree with you guys. I have a lot of positive experiences from going. Recently, I've been having a lot of problems with my leg the last few years. So I do find a lot of frustrations have start to happen for me where I didn't have them before. So it's like a new feeling. And this all started after my last surgery to remove the tumors that were, there was neuromas, which is like on the nerve. So they removed them, and I've just been having like, I developed hyperhidrosis, and it just feels like there's just one problem after another with my suspension. And that has been really frustrating and emotional. Like there's some, because I've typically had a good experience with it, and going is like, oh, like you get your repairs done, and yeah, it takes some getting used to, or I don't know how it feels for you, but usually there's more adjustments after getting the socket, and that's kind of the more frustrating part because I can't really tell just by like putting it on and then walking back and forth in a small area. Like I have to go walk and do and be and get in and out of my car and sit down and get, like, I have to do my daily tasks before I start to realize like what's working, what's not working. Um and so I've been going back every 2 weeks for months, and I'm sick of going. I love them. They're great people. They're not giving up. They keep thinking, they keep trying. They did talk about like, if you know the pin lock system, so like it actually comes out the bottom of a liner,
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
but then they also have it so it goes around the silicone part as well, like the 5 line. So it's like a double thing. They don't make it for above knee amputees, only below knee amputees.
Interesting.
So I don't get why. So I talked to my prosthetist last time, and I was like, can we just like make requests to people to see if it's an option to trial and error? Like I know it, like if we could get it and it might not work at all, but I think it's worth a shot. Like I'm willing to try different things. And with that being said, if anybody out there is watching this that also has different ideas, I'm all for it. Because we just
How
don't have.
much of your residual limb do you have from your hip? Like how long?
I would say like halfway down my thigh.
Okay. So you and do you wear a silicone liner now? You're not a pin lock.
Yeah. I wear a silicone liner that has like 5 rings to
Right.
seal. There's 2 different types. There's one that has one big one that you kind of like fold over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I can't use that one because it falls right on where I had my surgery. And so it just doesn't work. It like folds and it loses suction. And not only that, it's really painful because that's where my incisions were.
Right.
So yeah, I can't use that one. I've never used a pin lock in my life though. So I don't know. We're going to keep trying to resolve what this issue is, but at the same time, so next up on the list is I'm trying to get Botox. So if I get Botox, it helps with hyperhidrosis, which is excessive sweating. And when I'm sweating a lot, my silicone liner just swoop rights off. And so if we can basically block those nerves to just like prevent sweating in that area, so I can bucket sweat elsewhere on my body instead, I will take it. in the hopes that that will just allow for me to actually be able to keep my leg on. So I'm not saying I hate the be going to the prosthetist office. It's just more like this has been an ongoing journey of something not working. And there are days, even though I'm a positive person, that I'm like, I don't want to go anymore. I'm sick of going, or like I don't want to do it right now, or I want to give up, or I'm frustrated. Like there's negative emotions that do creep up, and I'm working through it. But there's some days where I'm like, I just don't even want to think about it today. Like just need to take space and enter it different with a different, more positive mindset, but allow myself to be frustrated that it's not going smooth when I'm used to it going smooth, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, just giving yourself space to is good. Giving yourself space to feel that is good. I think that
Yeah.
not being just positive for the sake of being positive, but, feeling all the things, but feeling the feels.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of feeling all the feels, and it doesn't mean I have to live in it, but like, yeah, I wouldn't be authentic if I was telling you, yeah, all my appointments went really well, when basically the last 4 years of my life I've been basically like, "Wah!" like, "Do I have to go again?" So, yeah, and I don't like driving in the winter. So now I'm at the point where um it's winter. Winter is coming.
Winter's here.
And
We
yeah,
got snow here.
winter's here, and I don't want to keep driving back and forth in the winter time. And so I was hoping to have this done by now, and it's not. And I'm allowed to be like,
Mm,
allowed to be disappointed in that, or be annoyed in it, or whatever I feel. You can have those experiences even when you're a veteran at this.
mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, on another note, do you have any hacks around being an amputee, or maybe when it comes to these appointments and stuff?
Um, so one of my hacks is to actually have a backpack purse all the time. I know people make fun of that, but but the fact that I don't have to use my arms or my hands when I'm carrying stuff is such a bonus. So that, and then also bags with longer handles so that it can be thrown over my shoulder rather than in my hands. So anything that I can throw over my shoulders. So like those big, like reusable totes with the longer handles, those are my best friend for sure. I use those quite a bit. And then I would say like the last one is always using a keyboard the size of a laptop. That really helps for my overuse injuries rather than
Oh,
using like
yeah.
a giant keyboard. And that's really, really easy for me.
Hmm. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
What
the
about you
like
guys?
we're not just talking about going to the prosthetist. We're talking about
No.
overall like
Yeah,
hacks
yeah.
for being an amputee. One of my amputee hacks that I like to use for around the house and just um like building and putting up pictures and basically just holding things is taking a pair of pliers and putting an elastic around them to be able to hold nails up against the wall to be able
Oh.
to hammer. That is one of my amputee hacks that I've been using for ever since I moved out on my own, and I just started doing things around the house and home renos or just putting up pictures, whatever. Trying to like hammer something in using a prosthetic limb is difficult, and then with your nub, it's also difficult. So that's like, especially because it's just really hard to hold a nail and put a. So I know that there's special devices you can actually get that are just like pieces of rubber that have slits out and they hold nails in them. But if you don't want to go out and get one of those, that's what I do. I get a pair of pliers with an elastic band that holds them tightly together, and I just like force it open a little bit, put a nail in, and it let go, and it shuts again and holds the nail. And then you can put the pliers anywhere in the wall, hold it with your nub as you're hammering in. My workshop is like right over here. I should just go grab an example. But did I describe that good enough?
You
Hopefully
did.
people
You
will
I
did.
understand
think
what I mean.
so. Yeah, yeah.
But
I have
I actually saw on social media that you can actually put a nail in the back, like backwards in a hammer, and it like wedges between in the hammer, and you can just hammer it into the wall and it like works and it
What?
stays.
I gotta see that.
Maybe I
Backwards in
should
a
go get
hammer.
a hammer.
You should
Okay, go
find
ahead.
you should find that and send it to me because I'm interested because I don't
Okay.
understand what you mean by that. The age-old classic for an arm amputee is the plastic bag trick, right? Putting on a jacket. We all know that one, and if you don't, you need to know it. Is if you have a silicone hand or you have even a vinyl covering like this skin that I have on this My Electric arm right now, if you go to put on like a winter jacket or a jacket, sometimes it's a pain in the butt to get your prosthetic arm through the sleeve, especially if it's a silicone hand. Oh my God, you literally spend there all day just trying to. So like putting a plastic grocery bag over it or a piece of any sort of, you know,
Smooth.
plastic or smooth surface to get your arm through, and then when the arm goes through, just pull it off. That's like I always think of that when it comes to amputee hacks. That I feel like everyone would know that. There's also another one for which I just think there are two things that are like amputees' best friends that pop up in my head, and those are elastics and Velcro. I feel like you could use elastics and Velcro for a lot of different things around the house that would, like I get strips of Velcro and I use them around the house quite often for just holding different things. But another one was like an elastic, and I'm trying to think exactly how it was, but it holds for a leg amputee, the elastic around the sandal that holds it onto your foot. So I don't know. Do you wear sandals with a?
No. I
No,
don't I don't wear sandals.
I just don't touch sandals.
Honestly, footwear is a bitch. Like, I don't even know another way to say it. Like,
Yep.
as a leg amputee, I have cried a lot of tears at shoes I've never been able to wear because there's so many different variants. You're not wrong. Sandals, like, I've come to terms with just wearing skater shoes all the time and just buying skater shoes and owning it, being like, these are cute. I'm wearing it with a dress. I don't care. Like, um, because I've had a lot of issues with that. And not even like, not just the straps and it staying on, but then also a lot of the time, like the height of the heel. So it needs to be pretty flat or, like provide stability. And as soon as you start even adding like a 16th of an inch difference in the heel height, it throws off my like heel in my body, and then I can fall really easily or just become unsteady. Now there are different devices you can get or ankles you can get to help, so if you want to wear heels and all that, but I didn't like them. Personally, they didn't work for me. I know people that it works great for, but I prefer my ankle to be more of like a Dyson ball with like the pivotal access. So that way, when I'm standing in the kitchen, like I can lean back and forth and it's not just like a peg leg with no motion. It has that rotation and it's like easier on your hips and stuff. So I'm also full of arthritis. No point do I want to wear uncomfortable shoes at all. So my prosthetist loves, they're also like an orthopedic place. And so they actually love that I wear skater type shoes. They said it's like really, they're like one of the best shoes for supports. So yeah, I've kind of just done that. But funny enough, I found this pair at Winners and it was like on clearance for $8. I have never in my life found a pair like this, but they have like an elastic pull over the back and over the front that works. And the only time I've ever had a pair of sandals like this was my mom got them modified, so I had something to wear to prom. But the other thing is like your foot still moves around in it, and so like I try and put like industrial Velcro, but then you have the problem of like once you start walking around other places, the Velcro on the foot wears down or like stuff gets stuck to it, like fuzzies and dog fur, and like there's all these other factors you don't even like think to, just trying to get the shoe to stay on your foot. And then the other fun part was when you walk places, like when you have flip flops and it's like flop, 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 flop. Like
Yeah.
you have a very consistent sounding flop. Whereas if you're a leg amputee, it doesn't sound like that. It's like flip, flop, flip, flop, flip, flop. So like everywhere you walk, everyone's like whipping their head around at you. Like, where is this noise coming from? So it like attracts even more like look at me energy that I'm not looking for. So
To be honest, though, all
oh,
flip flops are the most annoying sound ever created.
yeah, and it's just because they sound so different, right? Like
I
it's
hate
like
it.
you don't like it?
I
Oh.
hate flip flops. I think that they sound horrid, but that's just me. I
So
get
you never
very
want to hang
annoyed.
out with me. Actually, the next time we hang out together, I'm totally going to put them on just to like walk around the house just so that way you can hear them. But yeah, it's obnoxious. And I remember wearing them to go to church one time and it echoed like through the church at such an obnoxious loud, and I just had to be like, you know, when you're just like in the moment, you're like, I can be insecure or I can just like fake confidence through this, like I'm wearing sandals as a leg amputee, but in reality you're like, oh my god, I just want to hide under a blanket right now. No. So yeah,
That's
shoes are no fun. I don't really have too many hacks with it other than I wear skater shoes and that is about it. That's
that's pretty
that's
good.
Me
my
too.
shoe hack for you guys. It's not a great one.
There's so many cool amputee hacks. Like, if people that are watching this right now, if you have one, I want to hear it, man. I want to hear them all. So yeah, I always hear the most interesting ones, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna use that. There are so many out there. I gotta start a list.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I'm
want
gonna
them.
do.
Here's a great hack. Carry salt with you everywhere in the wintertime. So that way-
Railings.
But not just for you, for me too, though, because I'm
yeah, so you can just put it down in front of you everywhere you walk because
How
people
about
don't
like
clear the
wearing metal
sidewalks.
like grips on your shoes? So, because like as a
No,
leg amputee, yeah, falling over. No, that's not good.
so here's the problem. I used to have those. They work really well when you're outside um on snow and ice, but the second you hit pavement it's like a slip and slide, or if I come into the house it's very slippery, so it's, and especially once there's snow on it, so I've fallen and hurting myself a few times just transitioning from like icy sidewalk to non-icy, but it goes the opposite way. So it's like
Hmm.
where's the win?
yeah. Tile. Yeah.
Oh my god! It literally is like you put a skate on me and just toss me on the ice, like with one leg, like a flamingo. And honestly, like it's awful. It's awful. And I have no control once that leg starts to go. Like I literally did the splits the other day in my bathroom. I avoided doing the splits because I can't do the splits. I'm well aware of that. And I told my body, like partway down, I was cleaning, and I don't know what happened, but my artificial leg just started to slide out on me. And I realized in the moment, like, I can't do the splits, and that's about to be what happens to me. So I decided, I'm like, I'm just going to flop really hard down on like my other, like my sound side. And so I did, and then I realized I was still kind of like stuck in this half split stance. So then I had to take my leg off because there's no other way of me getting out. I was like, I'm stuck. I need help. And you see my bathroom, Jamie. Try
Yep.
doing the splits in my bathroom. Where are you going? Like, there's not room for this. So it's a very narrow, like, bathroom. It's like a closet.
Now, that's a
So,
personal question. When you get up at night and you got to go pee,
yep.
do you put your leg on to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, I do.
You
Because I
do?
have like no cartilage left in my knee. Um,
Yeah, and I was thinking that, like, I remember a story from a leg amputee that got up one night and was going through a dark hallway hopping
yep.
and didn't realize her dog was on the floor. Stepped on her dog, went down on the end of her on the end of her residual limb and like broke her femur. I think
Oh,
I'm mixing two stories together. It might have been outside of a bathtub that the one fell in. Either way,
that's
falling on
painful.
the end of your residual limb is no fun, especially if you
No.
break. Imagine breaking your femur. Like, oh my god, that sounds like it would be such a nightmare. You wouldn't be able
I
to wear
have
leg for like 2
broke.
years?
I don't have a femur, but I just have a tibia bone, and I have fallen and
Oh, right,
landed
right.
and
Yeah,
broke
okay.
that, and that's why in my head when I was falling, I was like, I have to fall on this side because like
Yeah.
my body is always like, look, like never fall on that side again. Like it's
We don't have
scarred
to worry
for
about that as
life.
arm amputees, like, falling on our residual limb. I mean, we do.
You
It
don't?
hurts.
Yeah, we
No, I
do.
guess we do, eh,
Okay.
Jamie? I'm just looking at your face, the reaction. Okay, yeah, when we trip and fall, I take that back. I do. I take it
Yeah,
back.
yeah. My life hacks as an amputee basically are how to avoid falling or getting out of the situation once you have fallen, and, and how to compose yourself still and not feel like a complete jackass
I've
every time it
I've
happens
seen
to you.
some of your falls, and they're great, man. They're hilarious. I have to
One
say.
of one of the one of the things that my mom when I was really young like drilled into me like was like you have to leave the door unlocked when you shower because
Oh,
if you
same. Yeah,
fall
yeah,
someone's got to save you because I mean the chances of us falling horribly are because we can't save ourselves as easily, right? Are pretty bad. And I'm a slippy girl generally. So so yeah, that's definitely one of the hacks, I guess. Even though I live alone, so I don't know what's going to happen.
yeah.
I
My
guess if I'm
dad.
I
able to
think
call
about that all the
911,
time. Just not
Yeah,
being an amputee, but living alone. Like, oh boy,
oh
if
yeah.
something
yeah.
happens to me.
That's why I always okay, my amputee life hack. There it is. I always have my cell phone nearby. So that
Ooh,
way if I do fall and hurt myself and get stabbed in the neck with my laptop,
because that's happened to you, I know.
because it's happened to me. Um,
Any freak thing can happen, man.
any freak thing can happen. And actually, in the moment, my phone did go flying. So I had to look around for it. And I remember thinking, like, I went to bend over and I started to like black out. And I was like, ooh, no, you're not allowed to bend over. You're bleeding out of your neck right now. So I was like trying to like hover around and look for where I dropped it. But I knew like it has to be somewhere in this vicinity, right? And like, so then I picked it up and did what any sensible person did. And they called their mother.
Not 911. The mother.
Nope.
So
I know my poor mom walks in. I don't remember even what I said to her. I just remembered I was trying to clean up all the blood. And I was just like holding my neck, obviously. And then my mom came in because she has a key to my house. So another hack, if you trust your mother, which I did, to only come in at appropriate times, like when you're bleeding out of your neck, then give them a set of keys so that way you can call them up. I'd actually recommend calling 911 in this scenario, but I went into like freeze and was just like, clot the blood, call mom.
yep.
Is this a big deal? And she walks in and she immediately is like, oh, okay, let me see. Okay, we're gonna get in the car and go to the hospital. And like on the way there, she's like, next time you could call 911.
It's so funny that you say that because like after my my split with my ex, like that was something I started to realize is like, oh man, something bad could happen and I wouldn't be found for a very long time. So my best friend, like we text often. So
Yes.
now he has a key. And if I don't respond, he either sends 911, he sends the emergency, or he comes himself. So
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good idea to even say, like, have a backup plan in place because, like, you can just like randomly fall and hurt yourself and you don't
yep.
realize how it will feel so different in these scenarios. And I guess this is like kind of for anybody, but especially if you're someone who's living with a disability where, um, it's a little more dangerous for us if we don't have someone by our side. So, but I definitely always recommend calling 911 before your mother, unless your mother is like a paramedic.
You are so hilarious. Like, hi mom. So I hurt myself. It looks pretty bad.
I promise you, I understand why when I call my dad unexpectedly, he answers and he's always like, hello? like panicked, and I always have to start being like, I'm fine. He's like, okay, like there's a set of, it's because it happens way too frequently. I get it. If I was my parents, I'd be the same way. So, and my dad is not calm like my mom was. So, what a great combination we are.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely. I think overall I'm making jokes, but it's true. Like it's important to kind of have something nearby, some kind of system in place, even if it doesn't have to be like a written out plan, but something, so that way your loved ones who care about you know what to do, and you don't just like sit in your apartment for a week without getting help.
Just rotting.
Ooh. On
Hey,
that
I got
note,
another
On that note,
I got another amputee hack here.
oh, okay.
okay.
I think it's an amputee hack, and that's just being part of a community, man. If you become an amputee,
Oh yeah.
become part of the community, meet other amputees, become part of the amputee community. It's a huge amputee hack, man. Just being able to talk to other people like we're doing right now. And
Yeah.
like if other people are listening that are also amputees, you're being part of the community right there. Like
Yep.
go meet other amputees. How important has that been over our life? Like all of us that we met as kids, like it's been huge having that community
I
as an
wouldn't.
amputee,
I
right?
wouldn't be who I am.
That's right. And every time
Yeah.
you have a bad day, you can call up a friend and be like, this happened to me today, and it's great to be able to have those discussions with someone that know what you're
And even
going
if you
through.
don't reach out to them, you still have an unspoken bond, or in your head you're not alone in it, right? Like, I know that I can reach out to either of you if there was something going on, or another leg amputee, and talk to them about struggles I've had. Like, I know I have it, even if I'm not utilizing it. And that in itself is, it makes there's a community that I think is so important, for sure.
Absolutely.
Good one.
Completely agree.
Great one.
Woohoo.
Cool. Well, on that note, if you have any amputee hacks yourself,
Please.
we
let
want to
us
hear them for sure. I think now we'll end up thinking like a ton more about them. Or if you have questions about what it's like to go to a prosthetic appointment, or sharing your experiences about going, any questions you have, toss them down below. We would absolutely love to answer
hear
them
it.
for you, talk about it on the next show. In the meantime, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that little bell to make sure you
Ding
get
dong.
notifications for all our upcoming videos in the future. In the meantime, peace.
Bye.
Peace out.